Welcome to another live conversations with the mafia.
We get ready.
Tonight live, we are live, and welcome back to another conversation with the mafia, live edition. So live, we are still adjusting.
Yeah, we were supposed to be on like 10 minutes ago. So welcome on everybody that joined us in on this live. Like I said, you can actually see us on Conversations with the Mafia on Facebook, and you can go ahead and load up your comments and your questions at that point in time. So with that being said, it is Tuesday, and we plan on going live Tuesdays at 6 o'clock.
Tuesdays, every Tuesday live, unless life takes over. But one of us will be on here to just do a quick little rundown and check in with everybody. You know, just do what we do on the live. So we'll give this a few minutes for people to log in and get acquainted. Once we have who we're going to have, we will go ahead and jump into it.
Listen, I know that I jumped into and I said that I was going to talk about tonight. Before we jump into that, we was gonna bring this, and Chris doesn't even know about it. Where I was going to talk about adultery and the things of adultery and how to recognize adultery and to see if you even have that type of thing of worship in your life. And this one gets a little deep, but it's more of a conversation that you guys can be able to start to see where you're at and what are you really worshiping. And so we'll wait for a couple more people to jump in on this thing before we go any further. Man, we're already popping. Missy's already popping in,
Midget, welcome in.
you know, and tagging everybody that they know and stuff. So with
Thank
that
you.
being said, we're not going to try to go very long. We're going to go probably about 15, 20 minutes just to get the conversation going. Again, to everybody that usually ends up saying something or putting in the comments, please comment your business and stuff so we can give a shout out, especially here in the Denver and the surrounding areas, so that you guys can get some recognition from us. And hopefully that drives more customers towards you, because I don't know about everybody else, but word of mouth always meant something to me.
Right.
And it means that somebody was testifying, speak to it in the church. They was testifying about your business, your character, your integrity, and your morals, and who you was. So when that reference comes forth, especially let's give them the shout out, believe that these are people that are of character. So give a shout out with it.
Definitely. And you know what, man? With these lives, I'm like struggling over here because I got my thing for notes, but on my dad's iPad, I don't really have nothing on it because I just use it for notes. But my iPhone, right? I have the controller and everything else, so I can't see.
Yeah, he has to
Comments.
freestyle it now. It's got to be all the spirit.
Hold on, because we do have.
Hold on.
Did you see my little bug holding on?
The anointing's coming. Hold on. Your deliverance is coming. Just hold on. Yeah, I really like that. So the way that I started this, and I'm going to get into the conversation because we got about 15 minutes with it. I started talking about this a little bit live the other day on my Facebook channel, and what it was I started seeing all these fans from the Spurs starting to beat up on the Knicks fans that attended the game, the last game, right? Now, I don't know if that was exactly the last game or what I was actually seeing on social media, but it was going buck wild and crazy, and these dudes were like stomping on these Knicks fans and making them take off their jerseys, and I'm talking, it wasn't one-on-one, we're talking about 5-on-1 dude. Right? This is how much anger was going on. And I sat back and watched it, and I was like, these guys are so angry that their idols, their gods, and I'll say it right there and then, who they choose to worship, got beat in a game that they weren't even involved in. You were just fans. But then you took your anger and aggression out on the fans that weren't even playing in the game. They're not on the Knicks roster. They're not getting paid.
Right.
Right? So I looked at it and I was like, man, what drives a person that angry, that mad, to turn around and take that frustration out on somebody that is a total innocent person that is just a fan of that team? Then I realized it's a spirit. It really is a spirit. And I started looking at it like how many people got idols and they worship them, like they fall down and worship them, and that's all that they mean. So take it for instance, yes, Coach Marcus actually likes the Broncos, but if they win or lose, I don't care. It's like you won, you lost, cool. I know the game of football because I'm a coach. I know how those things actually transpire and take place. At the same token, I promise you with this, most of the times when those games are over, we're shaking hands with the other coaches. We're shaking hands with the other team. We're not mad and angry about them or anything because, matter of fact, one minute the dude's playing on your team, the next minute he's playing for the rival, and you're still friends. So fans got it twisted where they just make it all personal and emotional.
Right. And what it is it gets back to the territorial and the like kind of like the set tripping, you know what I mean? Because now all of a sudden like the Broncos, even here, like you go to a Bronco game and you hear Bronco gang and Bronco this and and Bronco Nation, and everyone has their little saying, right? But I think what happens is a little bit of the tipsiness gets involved, and then all of a sudden that starts to become reality. Like you said, if you start to idolize or the truth that you put into it. I'm going to be truthful, man. I set trip with this. Like, that's why you don't see me wearing too much sport gear stuff, because I always represented the city that I wore, and it meant more to me than the team. And when people started talking about the team, I couldn't distinguish between, are you talking about me or the team? I don't even know who's on the team. I'm just going to let you know, like Omar Epps, like, that's right, gang member, you know what I mean? But that's where I think that's at. A lot of people start to they add that macho-ness to it, and it's not really, you know what I mean? Like, nobody got paid off that game. Matter of fact, everybody lost. Everybody lost, because if you bought a ticket that was overpriced, you lost. If your team didn't win, you lost. And if your team did win, look what happened. You know what I mean? You still lost, because now the other, and it just gets back into it. It was what it is there's so much releasing needed to be given that turns into the punching bag. And it's in the streets versus the gym.
Well, there's a lot of the healing that needs to begin. And what I mean by that, when I talk about different idolatries and different idols, we're conditioned with that with us as kids, right? And a lot of it starts at home where, you talk about sports. Oh, my dad was a Bronco fan. My grandpa was a Bronco fan, so I'm a Bronco fan. And then let somebody else in that family, like, cheer on the Raiders. Oh, you're a traitor. And, there's that hate. So you begin to see these things starting to condition in young children. But I also see that thing where I'll just flip this script in a different way. Racism, that's a form of idolatry. How? Because you choose that your race is better than the other races. It's just like gang banging, right? Oh, they wear that color. Well, they're that skin color. Well, they're that. None of it is making sense because you're putting it on a pedestal of idolatry. Now, what was first commandment that God put down is like, you should have no idols other than me. None. And I think even in churches, we get that mixed up because my church is better than that church. Oh, we do this at our church compared to what we do at your church. We believe this, you believe that. And again, more division. And idolatry starts like that. And it's conditioned since we're little kids to believe those things. And it is until that you are completely healed and you begin to see things in the spirit that the things of the flesh start to tear away.
I think a lot of this is what we break down is like, until you start having these conversations, and some people are like, it's not the spirit, it's your stupidity. But that's, we're not talking to you because you're not on the level of this conversation. And I'm not disrespecting no one. And I'm not trying to call anybody out and say I'm holier than you, because I'm not. But what I'm saying is that when you get woke to something, it's just like when I speak sports. We had the huddle in here, and I'm going to just bow out because I have no idea. But for me to start saying, no, that's not right, like...
How do you know?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going against the grain. And I think that's what happens, right, is the keyboard... The stiff fingers, right? They start lifting, and the reaction starts coming out of the adrenaline, right? Because nothing happens right here when I'm typing. But you won't say that out in the street. And then what happens is some people start saying that stuff, but the people that will say that now are confronting everybody that, you know what I mean? And like you don't have to get out and act a fool. I mean, folk gonna do what they're gonna do. But what we got to talk about is why. You know what I mean? Like
That's exactly
like
what we're
like
talking
like what are the kids saying right now? But see, what happens is right now, dude. If you, I don't know if it's for you, but my algorithm right now is violent, and I don't look at none. I mean, dude, it's none but church stuff that I go through as far as searches and likes. So to start seeing fighting like that and dude, like the road rage street shootings and stuff, it's just like it's almost fear based, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like they're pushing that narrative of making more fear, more fear. So here's what I always say. The more that you cave into negativity, more negativity is going to show up.
Right.
Because they keep pushing it, they keep pushing it, and they keep pushing it. That's why I said this racism thing that we talk about out there, or just even idolatry with. There was a very few amount of San Antonio fans that were actually doing this. So let's take the numbers. Let's take the numbers of like 60,000 San Antonio fans actually were at the attendance of the Knicks winning their championship there. But you see probably about 20 incidents of the violence getting taken out on the Knicks. Now, that's like a quarter of 1%, right? Not everybody's doing it, but social media pushes it like, yo, this is the narrative, and this is what all San Antonio Spurs fans are. And that's not the truth. That's not the facts that are being shown. But what we see is like it tumbles back into it. Which ones are choosing to be that way because that's what they worship and that's idolatry. But then social media, how much of it is truth? How much is pushed the narrative of fear-based motive?
And think about it, right? So the group that I seen looked like they was about the business. You know what I mean? Like, cause
I seen them throwing.
I mean, like there was no fear. They jumped right in, and like probably 30 years ago, I'd have probably got a throw out of that. But like now, it's just like, okay, cool. Now I can't take my people somewhere without that worry. But that's the fear, right? Because like you said, that's not everywhere. That's out of that whole city section. That was one, and we don't know like if somebody said something to pop it off, whatever. And that I'm glad you're in this part because that's the part I wanted to touch on tonight.
There we go.
And see, like, ooh, hold on.
You got 7 minutes.
But what's good about that, right, is that we're so quick to hear something. And boom, we with it now. All them fans, all this. But then when you really hear about it, that maybe it was a boyfriend, ex-girlfriend situation, and all you have to do is add a caption to it. And what happens is, like, nobody wants to hear both sides. There's no court, right? It's just if you heard something happen and the person who told you think is a trustworthy person, or maybe they're just offended so much that it's personal, and now it went from these fans to, well, these gang members, right? And the next thing you know, we're labeling stuff.
That's right.
And we're acting out
these thugs.
And what happens is when you're emotional and you hear an emotional story, you tend to go with what's right. And then what happens is when the truth comes out, right? So like now, as someone finally gets on there, like, that's cap. I was right there. What happened is this dude disrespected my cousin. This went back to high school, and I have no idea why they said that. We're not even Spurs fan. We had Raider stuff on. But you see how quick it is? Like, see how quick it is to put a caption on here, title someone, and drag them through the mud?
And the narrative changes with it because we come down to it, like I said. We got onto this whole idolatry and what was being there and how much you worship it. But here comes again where you start to see the anger.
Right.
You start to see the lack of judgment in anger. Now, there was a very few of them that were doing it, but the lack of judgment and not even thinking of the consequences that happens then comes from anger. And we're seeing that right now. Even the same thing that happens with road rage. This dude cut me off in front of me. I didn't know you owned a road. I didn't know that the road was actually, you bought it in that little section of the city.
And like, let's keep this real, right? Because we're at the CWTM podcast. We don't know what the next man's juggling. And I'm telling you, there's some people out there that are ticking time bombs right now, right? And regardless if it's emotional, grief, however, people are reacting to that. And sometimes you just have to sit back and be like, you know what? Yeah, the disrespect was real. Yeah, that kind of cut deep. But I got to let that go because the consequence that comes with that. Because now, like, you go to court and nobody's going to hear your side of the story. They saw on video what the narrative kicked.
They're not even going to care about your emotional
Right.
feelings. All they care about is the facts, the data, and the statistics, and what's in front of their face. They won't care about how you feel about it and stuff. But I agree with you. There comes a point where you just got to let a lot of that stuff go and just realize, like, oh, that dude cut me out in traffic. Well, let him have it. You don't know if he's in a hurry because his wife got in a car accident and he's trying to get to the hospital. You have
See-
no clue, but the disrespect can still be there.
Now, see, like I did a little study on this, right? And releasing is not weak. So you know what I mean? Like,
Preach it. I we say it over and over again. Releasing and letting stuff go shows you how strong of a person you are, that you're not letting your feelings and emotions control you. That takes a very strong man to sit back and deal with. And, we had talked about that with Pastor McDonald, and he made those things very, very clear about, like, this is what weakness really looks like, and this is what strength really looks like.
but what this came out to, right, is that a lot of men think if I don't defend myself, people will think I'm that they say, that I'm guilty of this or I did this. And maybe not even every battle deserves a response. Sometimes what you just said, we choose to not attack back. We choose not to expose. We choose not to get involved in the mudslinging. But see, you know what, man? That don't bring likes, and that don't bring views, and that don't bring, you know what I mean? Like right now, social media is not about experience. It's about revenue. And if I can flip the script, and you'll see in all these videos sometimes, like, bro, that's from 6 years ago. Get something new. And he's putting a narrative on today. They're like, no, that was my cousin. He's already did time and got out. Like, what are you talking about? That's not now. But see, what happens is we see something and we go with it. Okay, now the war in Iran, like, nobody's really seeing anything unless you're going down the rabbit hole. But there's a reason why. Because, see, they could control the narrative. Because if they only release the little bit of emotional stuff that will get you to swing this way or swing that way. And again, I'm not talking politics. I'm talking emotions. This is all based on that. Like, the video release is never when it'll help you. It's when it's going to hurt someone else. Because people get paid off of other people's misery.
Man, Don Henley made a song like that before. And he talks about, like, the news and how everybody likes to hear more about the bad things happening than the good things. And that they can, the dude says, I could have been an actor, but I wound up here. I just have to look good. I don't have to be clear.
Right.
We got the blonde-headed bombshell that comes on at 5. She'll tell you about the plane crash with a gleam in her eye. And I sat back listening to that, and I was like, that's how negative and negative news sells.
You know what, man?
The positive stuff ain't there.
Hey, I had a homeboy, dude. I'd go to his house in the morning to get him before we went to school, and I'm like, "What's up, dog? What are you watching this weather report for? It's all in a language we don't speak." And he's like, "Bro, I don't care about the weather. Do you see what she's wearing today?" And I'm like, "Bro, like, are you at least getting the temperature?" He goes, "No, hold on." He gets the remote, goes to the regular channel. Oh, it's only going to be 16. Goes back to that, and he's like, "I don't really care what the weather's going to be." But like that's what, like, you know what I mean? That's where we're at.
They play on your emotions.
I just want to throw this part in here too, because as I was doing my little study and writing on it and processing, is that when you choose not to get involved in the mudslinging and expose private conversations to win your side of the story, that's not weakness, that's maturity.
Fact.
And the problem with maturity is often loses public relation battles. The loudest voice usually wins in the moment, but the truth usually wins over time.
Fact.
And that's what happens when you jump into a situation and you just go with the what do they call it, the hook? When you go with the hook, they're like, on some of our clips, people are like, well, the bro code does this. Okay, we're not even discussing that. That's just the hook to get you to look. But like, you got to go do your research. You got to open up the book. You got to dig in and find the real video, not the edited version and not the AI version and not the voiceover.
And stop taking everybody's opinion that you ain't been there and you don't know what's really happening. Stop taking everybody's opinion like it's fact. Definitely go research all that and research the people that you're trying to get your facts from. But we just wanted to open up this conversation live, just to go real quick. And this is kind of what happens here with the CWTM podcast. We started off with idolatry worship, and we talked about how some of those things that you can possibly nail back in your own life. What do you put before God? Like, what do you really put before God? Do you put your car before God? Do you put your house before God? Do you put your job before God? Do you put your children before God? Like, really, how much time do you spend with God? And how much time do you really actually worship God? Because God's going to have two questions. And here will be the two questions I said. And I said it in men's group too. One, if you believe in God, understand me, you're going to probably get asked these questions. God's going to say, like, what did I mean to you when you actually stand in front of him? Now, imagine you're in front of a holy God, so you're not going to be able to lie. It ain't going to happen. You're going to see right through that. One, what did he mean to you? And when you turn around and you say, well, you meant everything to me, then he's going to say, what did you do for me? Those two questions I'll leave y'all with today. Brother Chris.
Before we go, I just want to jump in the comments and thank you guys for tuning in. We got a couple that are jumping in towards the end here, but Missy says, I know this has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but Coach Mike Brown and his wife Carolyn are longtime friends, and I delivered their boys. So win, lose, I respect and love them. And my question is if that's all that, how come we ain't got no gear? Just things that make you say, But thank you, Missy, for chiming in. She also said, you have to be the bigger person. It's just not worth it. And I agree. You know, all this that we go through, there's always, like, if you can't take time to stop and just process before you respond, it's always going to be the wrong choice. It's always going to be, I call it the I got to apologize moment. Because whenever I just blast off and say something, I have to come back with my tail tucked and be like, you know what? I didn't mean it like that, but that's how it came out. And sorry, but like that's where we got to start checking these emotions, because these emotions got people in prison for stuff that, you know what I mean? 10 years down the road, bro, they don't even remember. Like there's not any like factor to keep gripping on it. You know what I mean? It was kind of like what we were talking about last night. We get so caught up in putting bricks in our bag that the walk starts getting harder and we start getting more angrier, but we just have to start releasing
some of those bricks. And you're right. Apologizing is taking accountability first. And then that helps you learn that lesson that you're not going to be so quick to jump into it again.
That's it.
You know, emotions get the best of us in a lot of different ways. And we can start to look at the news and see how much of that is all tied into your emotions and get you wired up with it and stuff. So I'm going to cut this one short. I want to thank everybody that tuned in right now. We're about ready to jump into a couple more things that we're going to cut that will be released on YouTube. Every Monday morning, we release a new one that comes out. You guys are more than welcome to always hit us up on the CWTM podcast for any questions, any comments that you have. Hit like, hit subscribe. Talk about this with your friends in the conversation that we just had here tonight. There's old episodes in there that probably can help you if you really wanted to start searching this out. And I'll tell you right now, man, God has been wonderful, and he has been so good to us through so many things. We still go through the ups and downs like everybody else. There's times that I don't even want to come in here and talk at all. But then as soon as the Spirit gets a hold of me, I surrender and just let it happen. So you got any final words?
Just anyone that's tuning in later and that'll watch us either on YouTube or Facebook, make sure you guys share it out. Make sure you throw a comment in there. It helps the algorithm push the message. Every Tuesday at 6 o'clock, traffic and life willing, that we'll get here and do it live. And if for any reason we can't be down here to do a live, one of us will be live. And
one of us will be here.
One of us will get on there. So episode 55 just dropped. Or 54 just dropped. So I was watching 55, so like I'm jumping the gun here. But 54, if you don't wrap it up, it's a wrap. Make sure you guys check it out. Share that out with Share it out with the young men. You know, we got to get that we got to get that message. We got to quit waiting until the hard lessons learned to have that conversation, because then it's never learned. It's just something that happened. 55 men. Do you have your 6? And a lot of people are like, yeah, I got my back. No, we're talking about the 6 guys that hold you accountable. That, like if you were to pass away today, would your family have to struggle and make someone who you don't like carry you? Like,
you have those 6 that you talk to a lot that are willing just to jump up and carry that casket. Or do you have to, like you said, your family has to be like, you can get cousin so-and-so and uncle so-and-so to carry him, but he didn't really talk to him. Like, do you really have those 6 guys that are so down for you that they're like, you know what, I knew him personally. We were always talking. We always kicked it. Good times, bad times. And when anything ever happens, are you one of the 6 for somebody else?
And with that being said, make sure you guys hit the YouTube channel. We got 54 released right now. We got 2 more in the chamber, and we got 1 more going here. The lives, if you go on the page, you can just hit the live section. Any of our lives are on there. If you're on Facebook, please share us out. You know, it don't cost anything to support by just hitting the like, comment, and share. But make sure you guys come back next Tuesday, 6 o'clock. We'll be here. We'll have another discussion. Looks like today everyone's having a late join, so, you know, if you're joining in this late, you know, we thank you for coming in. Missy, thanks for chiming in with us.
Thanks,
She said good night. So good night, I guess. It's only 6:30, but good night. And again, you know, we just want to thank you guys. You know, we had 19K views this last 7 days on YouTube. So if on YouTube, man, thank you guys so much for.
You know what I like so much about that is that they don't get to hear those numbers. They just see the thing that they're like, oh, this is how many they got.
Yeah, they got 20. They got 20
so many
views,
but then they don't get to behind the scenes like what we know, which keeps us going and moving forward. Or even the comments and the DMs that we get. So
yeah, and I mean between all the platforms, we're pushing close to probably 30K views all the way across the thing, and that right there, man, is humbling because, like, you know, I just get on here for my own therapy. But, you know, we're an assignment, so whatever God's given us to talk about, that's what we're going to talk about. You know, another thing before we go is it's about to be summertime and it's getting hot out there, guys. You guys got to, like, make sure you're checking your emotions and your anger at the door because somebody else is just as angry and emotional as you are. And at the end of the day, man, it's going to be hot, and it gets hotter in that closet that they have bars on when you make those decisions. So, guys, you know, let's try to keep the summer safe, positive, uplifting, but most of all, an assignment. So,
hey, you guys, till next time.
Hold on. We can't cut us yet because I gotta let this thing connect. See, live, we got some bugs to work out because I gotta get another piece of equipment down here to get this going. But you know what? Like Marcus says, tell your friend, tell a friend. We did it live again. So make sure you guys chime in with us. Hit the like button, share it out. Until next time.
Peace.
Peace.